Hi, welcome to Our Ventura TV. My name is Mayo, and today we will be talking about entrepreneurship in our community. For that, we have an expert. We have Escobar joining me. Al has an MBA from Cal Lutheran University. He has also taught there, and he has helped over 100 businesses in our community. Welcome, Al.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you for having me. I think it's an exciting topic.
You know, we've been going through so many economic changes. Recently, there's been a lot of people laid off, but on the other side, there's been a lot of people opening up their own businesses. Our community is kind of like a microcosm of what has taken place nationally, which is more Hispanic-owned firms and more women opening up businesses.
Yes.
We're looking at, in our community, we're looking at around 15% Hispanic-owned firms and almost 30% female-owned businesses.
Yeah, that's a common statistic. The SBA, Small Business Administration, came out with a statistic that claims that among the entrepreneurs, the Hispanics, within Hispanics, they're opening up businesses at 2 to 1 compared to the national average. Generally speaking, people that come from other countries, they love to open up businesses because they see opportunity. So given that the economy may seem bad for some people, entrepreneurs see opportunity.
Right.
So that's what you're seeing.
And most entrepreneurs are, you know, they adopt a sort of risk taker mentality.
That's correct.
But that's what can possibly make them successful, right?
That's exactly what you got to take some risk if you want to try to gain something.
Now let's talk about a little bit of the pitfalls, okay, or maybe some areas where people might be blindsided.
Okay.
And they're almost set to fail because they don't take note of these things before starting a business.
Perfect. One of the pitfalls is planning, or the lack of planning. Most entrepreneurs, when they start a business, they really don't do much planning. They're just entrepreneurs or risk takers, and they just want to jump into it and start the business without actually looking at the market, what's out there, what the prices are. So there's really no planning. And this is why business plans make a lot of sense.
In other words, they don't do their research?
There's a lack of research, other than you have a desire to open up a restaurant because you love cooking, but because it reminds you of the breakfast you used to have in the morning, so you want to have your own restaurant. And just that alone, they think is sufficient enough for you to start a business and be successful. It takes a lot more than that. You have to do some research. You got to find out who the competitors are, what kind of foods they sell, what the market wants, and what the prices are going to be. Most companies start a business and then say, yeah, I'm going to be profitable immediately. They're unrealistic. You can do primary research, which means you go out and you ask your friends and family what they think about something, or get some statistics. So you can do a survey that says, do you like these cookies? Do you like this type of cooking? And then that gives you some information. So you're gathering information. It's called primary. Secondary information is what you get secondhand. So you go to a database, you go to someone else that's what they're focused on, and you buy that information. So it's good to have both.
Now, with everything changing so much,
yes,
you know, we live in a very fast-paced technological society. How would you say, if you can quantify something as having a high demand for a long period of time?
Well, that's an interesting question. In terms of demand, there's two types of companies. There's marketing companies and there's market-driven companies. A marketing company is a company that has a product and they just want to sell. That's it. A market-driven company is a company that looks at the market, looks at a region, at a city, at a community, at the country, and says, what do people want? What are they buying? And so once they determine that, they say, you know, based on that, well, this is the product that we can put together for these people. So the change in technology helps you with that because, for example, you use your phone for texting, you find out what people are looking for, what the searches are on websites, and that can determine what type of company makes sense to open that is market-driven.
Right. Another reason, another pitfall that we see why we need research is to have a business plan and take it to investors or banks, right?
Good point, and that has to do with the lack of funding. What happens is, if you go to the bank to borrow money, the banker is going to ask you, wait a minute, let me see what kind of research you have done. Do you have a business plan? That translates to the business owner or to the banker that you've done some research and that the banker's money is not going to be at risk with you. So what takes place is the business plan has shown that you've done some research, that you've addressed a number of issues, including the managerial aspect, the sales aspect, the marketing aspect, the budgeting and all that. And so you told the banker that you've done your research. And based on that, you're pretty sure that the money is going to be pretty safe and that you'll be able to pay it back with interest.
Now let's say I have my marketing plan.
Yes.
I have several friends that have had businesses. I've talked to people in the industry I want to go in. What are the chances? What's going to give me a higher probability of getting a loan with the bank?
Well, experience is a big factor. Bankers don't just look at the idea. The idea, it's got to be a good idea, but it also has to have some experience. So if you come in and you want to start a business selling whatever widgets you want, but you don't have any experience whatsoever, the banker is going to be not so sure that you're going to be able to get that money because you lack experience. So they look at the management team, for example. You say, I have X number of years doing this. I'm bringing someone else with me that has X number of years doing accounting, another one marketing, another one production, another one operations. So that gives the banker more security in saying, okay, the money looks good, the idea is good, and we think they'll be able to do well with this.
Now, would you say it's best to go to banks or county, is it better to go to banks or
okay, good point. You can
federal
go to
credit unions?
You can go to investors. There's different ways to fund your business. If you have a credit card, some people, that's their business partner. That's their bank. They're going to pay a high interest rate, but that's their money that they're getting it from. You can go to a bank and borrow money as well. You just got to look around and see what banks offer you the best value for your, how much money is going to cost you, the cost of money. Another thing is you can actually go to friends and borrow money. They call it friends, family, and fools, right? Because the risk is great. So that varies as to what it is that you're trying to do. Some banks specialize in more business accounts than personal accounts. So you got to look at that as well.
Okay, and how much money should a person set aside in order to be stable for their, after perhaps leaving a job?
Yes.
Or, maybe they'll stay, but how much should they set aside?
That's a good question, and that's another one of the pitfalls, and that has to do with the lack of funding. What takes place is that when you start a business, you are going to need a certain amount of money, a reserve, if you will, until your business begins to generate money. So what takes place is you got to determine how long is it going to take me before I make money, and how long is it going to take me before the business begins to build enough where I can survive. So what happens is, on average, people are told to save about 6 months to a year worth of money, depending on the type of business that you're going to have. Now, why that? Because what happens is that we have a tendency to overestimate how much money we're going to generate, how fast. That's one. The other one is we think that this amount of money that we have is going to be sufficient enough to hold on to us until we generate money. So you have an expectation of how long before your business takes off and how long before you actually start taking money into the company. So
and
6 months to a year.
Most of the times we do see people staying at their jobs and managing their little baby, their business on the side, right?
Yeah.
Until they create that clientele.
Yes, and that's a good point. And if you quit your job immediately, you have a steady job, you have steady income coming in, you left your job to follow your passion, to start a business within this passion, you have to realize that you just cut yourself off in terms of income coming in. So one idea is to not quit your job immediately, but start your business as a hobby until that business generates enough money for you to be able to walk away from your job. So that's a gradual way of doing it. It's a smart way of doing it. If that's the kind of business you want to get into that allows you to do that, perfect. Other businesses may not be. Other people may just want to go and get a job at a franchise, for example, if you want to open up a restaurant, get a job at a franchise, and once you have enough experience, then open up your own, because now you know how the process works to keep it efficient.
You know how to operate it.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Exactly. Now let's go to management.
Okay.
Or more like delegation. What are the weaknesses you see there and people lacking when leading their company?
Most entrepreneurs lack a number of skills, like everyone else. You have certain skills and you lack other skills, like all things. You may be good at marketing, but you still need some finance, you need some accounting, you need some operations, You need to be able to have customer service. So what happens is you have a specialty you're good at, and as an entrepreneur, you're going to have to gain additional skills so you can become a generalist in other areas. Now, as you start the business, you micromanage the business. And that's not necessarily bad. It's the first phase of the business. It's perfect. You're doing everything. At some point, you're going to have to bring additional people in.
How does a person know when it's time?
Well, if I'm looking at your business, and one way that I can tell that it's time is that I look at your sales. Your sales are not happening. Your sales are flat, for example. You've reached a certain level and you can't go above that level. That means you need to bring someone else that has that talent or that skill to get you to the next level. So I know now you have to bring someone else. The challenge is that because you've been doing everything, it's your baby, no one can tell you it's not pretty, and you gotta let go. You gotta now delegate this and let someone else do the work instead of you doing it all. And that's always a friction.
Right. Okay, so let's go to our last blind
pitfall, yeah?
Pitfall, which would be marketing.
Yes. Marketing is the key. It's a major key to the business. What it does is it allows you to generate clients. So what people don't do is they don't do any market research. If you want to open up a shop, a nail shop, a clean shop, any type of shop, you should go around finding out who the competitors are, what the pricing is, and so on and so forth, so that you're better prepared. Instead of trying to see what the pricing is, you can determine based on your research what you've done. If no one, within marketing, you got the pricing, you got to determine the pricing, you got to determine what kind of product, you got to determine the promotion, what kind of advertising you're going to use. Does it make sense?
And that's what I want to talk about, the promotion.
Perfect.
Because you see a lot of businesses where they have no marketing promotional budget whatsoever.
Right.
And they have nobody in their business, no new clients, almost no recurring clients, and they don't know what's going on.
Yes, and that's very common with small businesses, absolutely small businesses. They don't have a budget for marketing. Most companies that are successful start out anywhere from 8 to 15% of the budget is directly for marketing, because they know that if people don't know that they exist and what product they sell, no one's going to come to their door. You just can't build a business and expect people to show up and start knocking and say, I want to order everything. So you have to spend time finding out where your customer is and how you reach that customer. And that is done through marketing and sales.
Right, and now there's a lot of affordable ways with social media and everything.
Absolutely. You know, some businesses perhaps just want to print out a little sheet that says, here's what I do, come to my shop. Others can go to the internet. If you're not on the internet, if you're not capitalizing on social media, then you're not capitalizing on all the potential clients that you may have. So your marketing is not functioning as it should.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I know that many people benefited from this information. Al Escobar, do you want to give out your contact information?
They can email me at al.escobar@gmail.com.
Once again, I'm Maria Mayo. You can follow me on Twitter at Maria Mayo Live. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.